San Jose Sharks have a big decision to make with the trade deadline just around the corner. Will they go into full sell mode and try to move out all of the assets they have? We're going to break down who we could see go, what we will see in return, and just overall what we will see play out by the end of this week. So you're not going to want to miss this episode of Sharks Digest. But before we get into it, we got to say that 84% of you guys watching this video right now aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up on the latest Sharks news, trade rumors, prospect updates, everything around the San Jose Sharks, make sure down below and hit that subscribe button. But as I alluded to, trade deadline is just around the corner, coming this Friday, and there has been a lot of rumors over this past weekend of players linked to be leaving San Jose via trade, and we're going to break it all down and see what Mike Grier is going to do, because he has a big decision to make. Yes, they do have a lot of veteran guys that they could get some prospects and picks back in return. Obviously, San Jose isn't in a spot where they are going to be contending for a playoff spot yet this season, so it will be interesting to see if Mike Grier just says, hey, let's just let it all fly and see what happens and see what we can get back in return, because they do have a lot right now. But we did have a recent report come out from The Athletic talking about what we could see play out from the San Jose Sharks, and we just take a look at it here. They already said for a full rebuilding franchise that is in all assets gathering mode right now, it would make sense for them to start moving out some of these older veteran guys that are on expiring deals. And they say we've seen this already with Granlund, we've seen it already with CC, where they got a first and a third back for those guys, a conditional pick, a line involved in that as well. And he's saying he wouldn't be surprised to see these more of these trades happen before Friday and into Friday for this San Jose Sharks team. He names players such as Luke Kunin, who we've talked about a lot here on the channel, being linked to the Leafs and teams like this. Also Nico Sturm, a guy who's come back from injury and has been very solid for this team. And a lot of teams in dire straits for a center are going to be calling Mike Grier about this player. Also Jan Ruda, a guy we touched on as well in the videos in the past, a great guy for a contending team to come after as well. They also go on to talk about the goaltenders that the Sharks have in Vitek Vanecek and Alexander Georgiev. Yes, Georgiev maybe hasn't had the best season for the San Jose Sharks, but if a team wants to run a two tandem here in the playoffs, or they need an extra goaltending punch to get themselves locked into that wild card, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him go as well. They also go on to say here, Mario Ferraro signed through next season, but this could be a guy we do see go out as well. We've seen teams be calling for him and looking to get him. They also say the goal for Grier is to keep the rebuild moving along, with the Sharks to look forward to making another potential lottery pick in the upcoming draft. And that's all what it's all about here in San Jose, is we know we're not going to go out and get into a playoff spot this season. That's just impossible. But we have a lot of pieces there, like Will Smith, a guy who's been playing very well lately. Same with Macklin Celebrini, Fabian Zetterlund. We have all these guys and guys coming up like Sam Dickinson, Igor Chernyshov, who we're going to talk about later in this video. But we have a lot of young guys coming up that getting rid of these older guys isn't such a bad idea, because that creates room for these young guys to come up next season. Then we can really start getting into the rebuild, kind of the young team atmosphere, like we kind of seen in Montreal when they brought up Caulfield and Evans and all these guys, and now they're playing permanently for this team. And I think that's what we're going to see in San Jose, is them bring up these young guys. Yes, it might be a rough year, but it could be a good year, because if these young guys start to click and they start going, they could really put up a fight for a lot of these teams. There's no doubt about it. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see where San Jose goes this season. And if we just keep going, another report here did say that Ty Dellandrea is a guy that we could see moved out as well. And they also did drop Mario Ferraro in this tweet as well. well. So it seems like everybody is up for grabs here in San Jose right now, and the onus is on Mike Grier to say, hey, are we really going to get rid of everybody and just ride it out with, the scraps of the team this season? And if I'm him, I think I say yes, because if we just look at their deadline cap right now, they have $31 million in deadline cap. So even if a team comes saying, hey, we want this guy, we don't really have the cap space, the San Jose Sharks don't have a retention spot, but they could dump off a big contract for the rest of the season on the San Jose Sharks. Because if there's an expiring contract, let's just say that's like $8 million, and it's a guy who's, not going to get them there, but one of our guys like Mario Ferraro could get them there. We could see that swap where we have the cap to take on a $8 million player, and we don't even bat an eye at it. So I think that's going to play into the Sharks' favor as well, because if a team's asking you to take on $8 million in cap, they're going to compensate you for that. You are going to get probably a first-round pick in that sort of scenario, and I think this is what we're going to see with Mike Grier. I don't think he's really going to be calling a lot of teams himself, saying, hey, we got this guy, what do you want from him? I think he's going to be taking all the calls, saying, yeah, hey, we've got an offer, what can we do? I think he's more going to be relaxed here at this trade deadline and kind of, orchestrating it himself via people calling him and not being the guy who's out calling everybody. And I think that's what we need out of Mike Grier, is taking these phone calls from GMs on our guys, and he knows the value. He knows what he wants in return for Mario Ferraro. He knows what he wants in return for Nico Sturm. So if they're not going to give him that, he's not going to trade them. But I don't think there's a lot of pressure on Mike Grier to trade out a lot of these guys. But if they go, we get some draft capital in return, some prospects in return, we're happy about it. No doubt about that. So it will be interesting to see where Grier goes here. I think we will see a lot of these trades happen. Mario Ferraro was one that I'm kind of leaning on back and forth here. It's like, do I really want to see him go? I don't want to see him go, but for the right deal, you definitely do it. I think if you're getting a conditional first for Mario Ferraro, you definitely had to move him out at that point. As well as the other guys. The guy I would like to see go here is Georgiev. I know we just traded for him earlier this season, but I think we got guys coming up in Askarov and guys that are going to need the crease. And yes, I know Georgiev's I believe on the last year of his deal right now. So getting him out for, maybe a mid-end pick could definitely be good, especially if a team does want him. But it's going to be interesting to see how the trade deadline plays out for the San Jose Sharks. I suspect a lot of trades to fly out of San Jose here. I think if a team calls, the deal is right, I think Grier pulls the trigger on it. There's no doubt about that. I think he's been a great GM for us so far, and he's been building the blocks for this team to be great in the future, and it's only going to keep coming, especially if we get some picks, because if you look, we have 2 first-round picks for this season. We have a lot of picks, so if we get more, that's only going to be stuff we can use to draft players at the draft, or even make a big draft, or a big trade on draft day. As long as you have the capital to work with, the trades are going to come. The picks are going to come. So I think it's going to be a good trade deadline for the San Jose Sharks. But swiftly moving on here before we end this video, I did want to touch on our boy who we've been talking about here on the channel for a little bit. That's Igor Chernyshov. This guy has been absolutely dominating the OHL ever since coming over from Russia. Right now, in 15 games, he has 38 points. Yes, you are seeing that right. He has 14 goals, 24 assists so far in his early OHL career for the Saginaw Spirit. This guy has been such a welcoming surprise for San Jose Sharks fans. Nobody really suspected him to come over and dominate as much as he would. We thought he would be a solid point-per-game player, but he's exceeding that, especially after coming out of surgery as well. We didn't know what to expect. He has been a very, very fun player for us, especially in our prospect pool, that I think come next season, come training camp, we could potentially see this guy in a preseason game, potentially maybe even making the roster. I think, maybe that's a little bit of a reach, but I think he's playing so well and right now that he could definitely do this as a big power forward type of guy. Putting up this many points in such a short amount of span is definitely jumping off the page for not just Sharks fans and the Sharks front office, but for all NHL fans. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen a guy come over from Russia and put up these numbers like he's doing, so it's great to see this guy pop off for the Saginaw Spirit, and it's definitely another guy to have in our up our sleeve for the rebuild of these San Jose Sharks teams. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on everything we talked about today. What do you think is going to happen here at the deadline? Do you think Mike Grier makes a lot of trades? Do you think it's maybe more of a quieter day for us? And I want to also hear what you think about Chernyshov. Do you think this guy is going to come over next season and make an impact for this team? Let us know down below in the comment section. Personally, I think the more young guys in this lineup next year, the better, because it's only going to help them develop as a team, build chemistry and stuff like this. And I'd love to see a young Sharks team going next season. What are your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section? If you enjoyed this one, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road for 2,000 subscribers here on the channel. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button. It's completely free. And if you want to check out a video we did the other day talking about the big win against the Leafs, it'll be popping up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host, Casey. We'll catch you in the next one.